Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Nomad Podcast. I'm coming to you live from sunny Thailand. I'm your host, Joshua Snitgen, and today I'm talking with Kesh Varan, who is the founder of Digital Nomads Asia and has been a nomad for 14 years now. So I'm super excited to have him on the show. And yeah, how are you?
Doing well, Joshua. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, we found each other on Facebook. You have a group of how many people? 120,000?
That's in Bali alone. Yeah, we have about 100 and
Okay.
I think in Bali collectively we have something about 250,000 people. But we met on Digital Nomads Bali. I saw you starting out trying to do a podcast,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a good idea for do it. And I
Yeah.
reached out to you. Yeah,
Well, yeah, I just put out the post and you found me and you were like, "Hey, let's do a podcast together." And I was like, "Let's go for it."
perfect. No, it was what I say. Opportunity meets timing. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So you've been a nomad for 14 years now, based in Singapore. But
Oh, yeah.
how did you get started with that? Like, what's your story?
Well, it's a mix of a lot of things, though. I think when I first left Singapore was late 2013, sorry,
Hmm.
2014, right after I did my postgrad, I think. And I was kind of bored out of the corporate lifestyle. I know it's very cliche and blah 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 blah,
Hmm.
but I think that I didn't know what I was doing personally. I mean, like I
Hmm.
was about 30, and I
Okay.
didn't slightly younger, 29, I think. I like to be young nowadays, but I think I didn't realize what I was doing and what life was about. I took a ticket out, went to
Hmm.
Bali for a breather, and the rest is
Hmm.
like I say is history. Like the rest, I never came back from that. So
Okay.
I left my job while I was in Bali. I resigned while I was there, and I said, "Now what? This is not
Okay.
for me." And I start doing things that I could. And then I was initially free. I felt very liberated. I don't know why. Professionally, I felt very liberated. I didn't have to
Mm.
do that the usual grind. But at the same time, I know this will allude to your next question, but I think at the same time I was also a bit stressed about can I sustain this lifestyle,
Hmm.
right? I think
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that was the other part of it that played in it. But for the first 3 to 6 months, I was doing nothing but partying,
Okay.
out to the beaches, met some of the coolest people in my own people in my life, honestly, who I
Yeah.
still call friends till today. Um,
You mentioned that you were in a corporate job and then you left for Bali.
mhm.
Um, what did you do before? Then I guess, what made you decide to want to leave in the first place?
I think for me, no, actually, I wanted a break, Joshua. The honest thing is that I
Okay.
wanted a break. I wanted to take a five
Okay.
day or 6 day holiday and take a break and then come
Hmm.
back in and do it again. What I was doing, I was working for a PE fund, and my
Okay.
goal was to, I don't know, like for me, like I don't know, that's where my heart was. I'm a creative. I'm a guy who likes to build things and do things and whatever. But I said, you know
Hmm.
what? I'll take a break. I'll come back and see what's going on. And
Hmm.
I didn't come back.
Okay. So you were expecting to come back after it was more of
Yeah, it was just
like a sabbatical
yeah,
almost.
for
Yeah.
5 days because Singapore and Bali is about 2 hours away, right? We're both on
Hmm.
the same time zone. My boss is constantly sending me 200 emails a day, even though I'm traveling, and he knows
Yeah.
I'm away. And he's sending me 200 emails a day, WhatsApps, messages, name it, God.
Hmm.
And then I thought, you know what? I hate this shit. This is
And
rubbish.
you were just done. You wanted to be done.
I said, I'm done. This is nuts. He knows I'm
Yeah.
traveling, and it was like, that's my takeaway from it at that point in time.
Hmm.
And then I kind of looked at my bank account. I thought, I got a better mind to stay here for a couple of months. I said, that's it. I'll go back home and figure out a new gig. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any ideas of what you wanted to do instead, or did you just kind of leave and expect something to,
Well, Josh,
come up?
I didn't leave to quit my job.
Okay.
I left
Yeah.
to just take a break. So then I was like,
Yeah.
what? And I met really cool people out in Bali.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Can I curse in this podcast?
Sure.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck this. I'm having the greatest time ever. I'm the
Hmm.
coolest people ever. And
Hmm.
everything seemed to like feel right at that point. It actually felt right. And I was like,
Yeah.
I sent an email back to the boss man. I said, no, mate, thanks, but no thanks. You know what? I'm fucking off.
Hmm.
That's what I'm doing. And he said, cool. Thanks for your, blah, blah, blah. Paid me out. I checked my bank account the last time. There's enough money left to last me a couple of months in Bali. And back then, Bali is very cheap. It's not today's Bali.
Okay.
You're talking about
Okay.
14, 15 Bali. Yeah?
Compared to Singapore, it's a lot cheaper for you, so you can live longer.
100%. 100%.
Okay.
So, and then, so yeah, so I said, fuck it. I did that. And I never knew that the 2 months became 10 years after that, or, you know, evolved into what Digital Nomads is today.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was down to the fact that I think 14 years ago there was no such thing as a digital nomad. Basically, we all were just working to live.
Hmm.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? We all had a job. So a lot of my friends who were expats or foreigners or traveling through the city, it's probably 10 or 12 of
Hmm.
us, to be honest. But we all had a day job, right? Like a job that we kind of make a bit of coin from. And then
Hmm.
it was a lifestyle that we loved. And then it's the people that we had among us that was so, what's the word? That was the most amazing thing that we shared. It really wasn't money. It
Hmm.
wasn't really a job. If you had one, great. If you didn't, you could still survive. So a lot of
Hmm.
us kind of, I speak for myself, I won't speak for a lot of them, but I'm sure a few of us lived on our savings for most amount of time. Not really the
Okay.
that we look for.
Okay. Well, we talked about that before. So the difference between the OG nomads, the original nomads,
Hmm?
and how nomads live today. Would you say it's changed? It sounds like it's changed quite a bit compared to 14 years ago versus today.
Oh, 100%. Josh, you can speak about it as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a recent addition on my convert, aren't you?
Yeah.
Um, of course it's changed, but I think it's changed because I think uh, today it's become a fad. It's a fashion thing, because
Hmm.
you can put X amount of Instagram pictures on your Instagram profile, then you're digital nomad or whatever. It's a
Exactly.
yeah, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing to say to people, you know what, I love the country and
Hmm.
it's not longer where we believed in it. We had reasons why we all left. So a lot of me and my
Hmm.
mates, we have reasons why we left. And I think and why we stayed as well.
Yeah.
And that's why the nuances of us building, I speak for myself anyway, the nuances of me building what we built so far collectively across the ecosystem has been very, very targeted based on the knowledge I knew back in 2014. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And today
Yeah.
you don't need my knowledge anymore because today you just take a flight, book your flight, and you call yourself digital because you've been in the country for
Yeah.
4 days. It's only because you want to populate content on your TikTok or your Instagram or whatever.
Hmm.
And so I don't think that actually did for us. Like we had all had dogs, we had
You had a purpose behind it. You wanted instead of just posting pictures, you wanted to. There was a reason for you to leave.
yeah, we wanted to build the things. We cared about each other. We all lived together. I have friends who got married
Hmm.
with the locals in Bali back in the days. And we all were
Okay.
a community. We all knew each other, right? So like
Hmm.
we all were friends. Like if you can, I can leave my bike or my motorbike. I don't know. I'm sure you have one, Joshua, back in Thailand now.
I don't actually.
You
Just
know?
just
Right?
grab.
So I can leave my bag anywhere in the street in Canggu, and tomorrow morning be in my house. I can guarantee you that's
Hmm.
gonna happen. But today, I don't know who you know I don't know who is what Canggu is or what Bali is today. I don't. I think
Hmm.
it's changed. The face has changed from where 2014. But do I think it's a bad thing? I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't think it's a bad thing. But also, I think that someone like I think I have to understand that it's changed and
Hmm.
accept it for what it is today. So I think there are people who are capitalizing from it. I think the Balinese people are definitely making a lot more money today
Hmm.
because they
That's
went,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's not wrong. Honestly, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's about time that they're also not maintaining Bali the way I think I remembered it to be. It's called
Hmm.
Bali before was a different place to what it is today. But it
Hmm.
comes together with a different argument that we can have about investments and capitalism or whatever. But I
Yeah.
don't want to go down that route. But I think Bali's opened up because I know that I want to bring this up in a separate conversation. It's
Hmm.
because COVID really swiped Bali out because Bali is
Hmm.
so dependent on tourism, so dependent on foreign investments and all this kind of.
Yeah. Well, I think I've read before that Bali is like 70% foreign investor, like foreign. What is it?
I think it's more than that, bro. More than that.
Okay.
And I think that's why they killed them, almost killed the entire island for about 2.5 years, 3 years. Flights,
Hmm.
airports were closed, flights were not coming in. And I
Yeah.
think I think there's a lot of revenge travel, as I call it, that
Hmm.
happened after, and it's about time Bali made their money back. I always say that,
Hmm.
and I think it's fine. But I think it's a lot of the other side of it is the fact that I think it grew too fast, too quick. That
Hmm.
that we can't manage it well enough, and that's my thing. If you manage well,
Okay.
right. I think now they just went too fast, too quick, and I think the implosion has kind of got them into a very tough pickle, to be honest. But I think no, it's by idea figure it out, I guess.
Yeah. So do you think digital nomading is a net positive for like Asian countries?
100%. I think
Okay.
digital nomad, it's a personal choice, Josh.
Hmm.
All right. I think whatever your reasons are for leaving the country, whatever your story is, I think
Yeah.
you pack your bags, get your passport, and say, you know what, this is it. I'm gonna go. Uh,
Hmm.
I think it's a net positive for you individually, but I think the bigger picture of whether you enjoy this journey, you only can find out when you leave. And so I think that's the most important part of it. But there's no bad thing about the show nomadism because I think it's a personal choice. It's got nothing to do with you know, well, who does it impact, right?
Yeah.
You and you alone, right? So
Yeah.
so if you enjoy it, if you like it, yes. If you don't, then book your next flight and come back home. So it's not that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it sounds like that's what it was for you because you left the country and you were curious about what life might be like
Hmm.
in another place like Bali. And then, like you said, come back if you don't like it, but stay if you like it. It's
Hmm.
a very personal choice.
Bali
But
became
yeah,
home for me, Josh.
yeah.
It became home too quickly, too fast for me.
Hmm.
Honestly, it did. I met a very core group of friends. I had my dogs. I had my own house. That's nuts.
Okay.
In a matter of a couple of months, right? I had a new girlfriend. Like my life just changed like, in a matter of 60 days, right?
Yeah.
And so Bali became home for me. Next minute, I was offered a job opportunity from a guy in Jakarta. So,
Hmm.
like next minute, everything just changed, you know?
Yeah. So why Bali? I'm curious, like what drew you to the island?
I love Bali, mate. You can't go wrong with Bali. Bali,
Yeah.
at the time when I went there, I don't know about today. I cannot speak about today, but the time I went there, it's probably the most gorgeous island in the world.
Yeah.
Really was. The most sweetest people you can ever meet in your life. And the first time I was in Bali, I was 9 or 10. I told you about the story earlier when we were talking on the
Hmm.
phone with my old man. And I've always loved Bali. There's waters, there's beaches, there's greenery. If I wanted to go up to Ubud, Bali gave me everything I wanted. And the thing is that in my
Yeah.
head, I was thinking it's the same time zone as Singapore. If I want to do business, it's great. Um,
Hmm.
if I wanted to, anyway. But so I was just thinking it was good, and I loved Bali and still love it to be honest. But
Yeah.
I think it was that place. Bali is so magical. I always say it, it's one of the most magical islands in the world. Honestly, it's the most. And
Yeah.
and it just draws you in, it sucks you in, yeah. And I stayed.
Hmm.
My life became completely different when I was there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they call it, what is it? The Island of the Gods, right?
Oh yeah, one of the.
Yeah.
There's three places in the world. I'm not sure you're familiar with Josh. We always
Hmm.
call it the pyramid of so there's one in Peru. There's one in
Okay.
India. So Varanasi in India, Peru, we had the and then so it's called Earth, Life, and Death. I think it's a little triangle. And Bali's the last stop, where it's a
Hmm.
rebirth, right? So very simple. I'm getting too spiritual on this shit, but I don't believe in all this shit. But friends with time, there's always three places in the world: Peru, where the Machu Picchu and all that. Then you have
Hmm.
Varanasi, where death is, and then you have Bali's a rebirth, where you
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, apparently it's a thing. And so
Yeah.
and I
And do
always
people go there? Do people go to all three, or is it just more of a symbolic thing?
there are some certain beliefs around it because Machu Picchu is birth. That's the birth of civilization normally, right? And
Hmm.
then Varanasi is death. That's where you die. And the
Yeah.
rebirth comes in Bali.
Okay.
So that's a
Yeah, I didn't
one.
know about that. That's cool.
So it's a triangle that a lot of the spiritual healers will tell you. And
Yeah.
I found my rebirth in Bali when I was 29, 30. And I felt great, man.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. And then when did you come back to Singapore after that?
I only got back to Singapore in 2023, 22, during COVID, when my
Okay.
dad passed away. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes, yep.
So I have to ask, what is the best part about being a digital nomad? I mean, there are many benefits. I think there are many benefits to this lifestyle. But what would you say is your favorite part?
I think it's the ability. I think it's the ability to schedule your own life, right?
Mm,
I think that's one of the things that a lot of us take for granted at times. I think the ability to schedule what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it.
mm,
I think that's one thing. I think especially this goes back to your previous question, Josh, as well,
mm,
about what I feel is very different about the Nomads today was 2025 versus 2014. I think
mm,
it's that today we that the balance of life is very important. When you're sitting here in
mm,
Singapore, of course, you go to work at 8 in the morning, you come back home at 10 p.m., whatever. And I
mm,
think in when you're doing remote work, you're able to work with abundance. I always say you're able to work when you want to, when you have to, as long as your deadlines approach, you work.
Yeah.
And I think that's all that matters today. Remote working, or I call it the future of work,
Hmm.
back in those days, has stayed consistent. And I think that's one of the biggest things you have for work-life balance.
Hmm.
The life balance part is
Exactly.
commonly overthought. No one actually focuses on it because if you don't have that life balance, a lot
Hmm.
of it is just, oh man, I gotta go work. You see, I hate guys today, honestly. I still hate them till now. It's, oh man, I'm working till like 2 in the morning. I said, man, you got the worst
Yeah.
fucking life in the world. I always say that. God, I end work at 4.
Yeah.
And if it really matters, and I always tell my team, right? Only call me when the office burns down. Don't call me.
Hmm.
You guys are smart enough to figure it out. I always say this.
Yeah. Well, I think especially in America, which is one thing I don't really like over there. I
Mm.
mean, there are many good things about America, but just one thing that I don't like
Not
is
much,
that,
not much to be honest with
well,
you.
I mean, I think everybody is focused too much on work. Go to work at 9, leave work at 5, and then,
But Josh,
repeat.
to be fair though, don't you think that if you and I were living, okay, I'm living back in Singapore now, but
Hmm.
you and I were living in a tier one country,
Hmm.
we have to pay the bills. We got to pay our
Yeah.
rent, our
It's
mortgage.
expensive.
Yeah, we got to go to work. You can't just, say, you know what, let me get a couple of gigs and see if I can work this out. No, it doesn't. You really have to go and work. And
Hmm.
also, I think society has evolved so much that you have to, there's pressure on you as well, right? So if you're
Hmm.
in a tier one country, which I call it the US or Singapore, like
Yeah.
you have to make X amount of money. You want to stay in a nice
Hmm.
place. You want to wear the nicest clothes. You want to do everything you want to, right?
Yeah.
And that requires money,
Yeah.
right? So unless you do a fast one on crypto or you do a or you're a content creator now is what they call it. Back there's no normal jobs you can afford to do that.
Hmm.
There is nothing.
And also, I think it comes down to philosophy too, because in the West, in the US or Singapore or wherever, like a
Mhm.
first world country, I think the focus is more on becoming like getting wealthy and success.
Yeah.
But in Asia, it's more about more like I guess personal fulfillment or more like inner peace. Uh,
No. I don't think I disagree on that one.
okay.
I think everybody wants the success we desire is the same.
Hmm.
I just think
Hmm.
the levels are different. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Yeah. I think if you're a Vietnamese or you're a Indonesian or you're a our dreams of success are the same. I don't think it's
Hmm.
very different, but I
Okay.
think the means to get there is very different versus the means for, say, someone in Netherlands or someone in London or someone.
Hmm.
Those are different ways to get there.
What would you say the main differences between the West and Eastern cultures?
I think in the West, I always believe that there's opportunities to get there.
Okay.
I think there's a certain level of meritocracy you can look at. I
Hmm.
think in the East, I think if not Singapore, but every other country I think of, there's a
Yeah.
lot of you have to know the right people. You have to be born in a certain if you're lucky, you're lucky.
Hmm.
And I always think there's no meritocracy. There is, of course, a 10 or 1 or 10% chance of you making from a certain place, but the
Hmm.
chances are very low unless you have
Okay.
legacy funding, my opinion. So
Okay.
I don't think that you can go from 0 to 100 in certain parts of Asia or Southeast Asia
Hmm.
without knowing the right people, the right things, and all that kind of stuff, or your family, societal issues.
Hmm.
Whereas in a tier one country, meritocracy still does exist.
Okay, so there are many benefits to being a digital nomad.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, many Westerners would say it's a lot cheaper, and it is cheaper compared to, America or Canada or the UK.
Hmm.
But what would you say is one of the drawbacks of being a digital nomad? What do you think is
Oh,
challenging?
expectations. When you fly into a new country, you have all these expectations, and somehow you're like, what? What?
Hmm.
Internet shuts off at 9 p.m. What? You know, that I think it's expectations. I think that's the only thing that kind of takes you back from the first initial talk. And
Hmm.
honestly, Josh, I would like to find a lot. I really couldn't find one.
Yeah.
I really couldn't find a drawback of seeing the world, shaking hands
Hmm.
with the coolest people you ever meet in your life, I mean,
Hmm.
memories, adventures, journeys. I mean, I don't see much, but if you have a job as a digital nomad, I think that's the only downside I could see where you're not able to find a place that you are comfortable, and especially if
Yeah.
you're comfortable, you don't like it. And this comes back to the other point. I say people rush. I share
Hmm.
the experience with I rushed my first 60 days in Bali with dogs, woman, house, everything.
Yeah.
Worst mistake in my life. And I repeat this to people again. Do not do all that. Take your time, relax, go down,
Hmm.
eat a thing. Because back then there was no community around it, right?
Yeah.
So I said, today's community is talk to people, do your research before you get there. Go and understand what the country is about. You know,
Hmm.
take X amount of things with a grain of salt, but
Yeah.
also be able to say, now what? There's an X amount, say, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
Hmm.
Right? And make sure you have a backup plan. If
Yeah.
shit goes, yep. I don't think there's really a downside to being, to be fortunate enough to travel the world and work and
Hmm.
experience things that no other people could experience.
Yeah, you mentioned a backup plan, which I think could be important, but personally, I didn't really have a backup plan. I just booked a ticket to Thailand, and I was like,
Yes.
I'm gonna make this. I'm going to make this work.
No, Josh, when I say a backup plan, I mean like at least you can go back to the same place you came from, like Thailand or like if you're leaving Thailand to go to say to Bali, at least you got a backup plan to get back to where you're coming from. There's got to be a
Yeah.
base for additional man, right? You know
Hmm.
where kind of like your second home is.
Yeah.
I always call it that. You got to know where it is. If you don't know where it is, mate,
Hmm.
you wouldn't know where you're gonna end up, and there's a worse
Yeah.
feeling that you wouldn't know, right?
Hmm.
So I always think as a digital nomad, honestly, as a nomad, love what you do, be open to a lot of things, experience,
Hmm.
love it, meet people, be very open to meeting people because it's the most important thing.
Hmm.
If don't be the most recluse person in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst thing in the world.
I think that was one of my problems originally too, because I had a hard time. I was very, I'm very introverted, and so I have a hard time talking to people. And so I think it was hard for me to really go out and meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent a lot of time by myself in my room, which I still have struggles with that too, but I think I've gotten better at,
No,
you
it's
know,
normal. It's normal. Josh is normal.
yeah.
It's very normal, and this is why
Hmm.
I build communities, right?
Hmm.
Because it's very hard if you're going to a new place by yourself alone. You don't know anything.
Yeah.
You don't know anybody. There's nobody you can reach out to, except maybe if you're living in a hostel or whatever.
Hmm.
And you might shake hands with someone. But if it's staying in a hotel, if you're staying in a villa in Bali, you're probably alone.
Yeah.
And you can be very comfortably alone. Trust me, you can. If that's what you want,
Hmm.
props.
Yeah.
Do
I
it.
mean, it was fine with me too. I enjoyed just being by myself.
Exactly. Some people like it, right? Then
Yeah.
there's a good 95% of people who don't, who are
Hmm.
alone and don't know what the fuck they're gonna do and what they're gonna figure out.
Yeah.
I always tell them, you know what, you have to shake hands, and there's some really cool people who introduce you to some people, right?
Hmm.
And I think, and then from there, grow your network. Then you might decide if you like the place or not. If you don't, you don't, because
Hmm.
you can't just make a judgment based on like say, you know what, I've been alone for a month and I'm bored.
Hmm.
I don't want to talk to. I don't have,
Yeah.
like
And that's what's cool too, because when you're in a different country, you're not really tied to it.
yeah.
And so if you don't like it, you can just move on and say, hey, I'm done. I want to try a different place and see how you
Mhm.
like it. You're very free, I think, as a digital nomad.
100%. As long as you got a place, I always say that works with your Wi-Fi works, you'll be okay.
Mhm. Computer and Wi-Fi, that's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Not really, but yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But I say, but try to take the most out of every country you go to. I always say, take the
Hmm.
most out of it because we might be there for a day or for a month or for 6 months or but take the
Hmm.
most out of it. Enjoy it, experience it, taste the food, meet the people. Like
Yeah.
introvert who enjoys a villa or a resort, then do that too.
Hmm.
Want to, right? Make the most out of it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. I think it just makes for a cool life story too, where instead of just staying in the same place and working until you're 60 and then, you know, the normal life, as a digital nomad, you're able to, I guess you have a story to tell in the end. You have something to tell your
Yeah,
kids.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's stories to tell, memories you will never forget, experiences you will never recreate again, and
Hmm.
friends you will have for the rest of your life. I can promise you this. I think I've done this for a long time, and I promise you,
Yeah.
you do. You have everything. That you cannot replace, right?
I don't know if you've had this experience too, but do you think, you know, you've been a digital nomad for 14 years now. Has it become like normal to you, or like because I feel sometimes I find myself feeling like I kind of take for granted this more free lifestyle.
Hmm. I can tell you the worst part about it is saying goodbye. I can
Hmm.
tell you things that really broke my heart personally is the fact that you might be with friends for a couple of months and 2 months, and then they will leave anyway, right? And you
Hmm.
got so close to them, and the only thing you have to say is no, bye, or a postcard or a little message right to each other,
Yeah.
and that's it, right? And for me, or a little Facebook connect or whatever request.
Hmm.
Um, I think for me, the hardest part is always saying goodbye,
Hmm.
you know? And I think that is the biggest thing that I always that's the thing that I cry about sometimes. I really do. I'm a bit soft that way. Because
Yeah.
I know I might not see them for the next couple of years or 3 years, five, whatever, you know. But you
Hmm.
just got a WhatsApp number and that's it.
Hmm.
And I think I think that is the toughest part when you miss them, right?
Yeah.
You know
I
that
think so too, because I remember traveling around Asia for about a year. I was
mm.
just on the road. I was moving every 2 weeks. I've said goodbye so many times where it didn't really affect me anymore
Yeah,
because it was normal. It was normal to say goodbye. It was,
yeah. Yeah, you get because it comes with for 10 years now you just know that she's gonna or he or she's gonna leave. It's like, oh, all right, Mike,
yeah,
pleasure meeting you.
you become numb to it.
Yeah. But at least the last thing I always do in any country that I've been to is always make sure I make it a point to send them back home, send them back to the airport. I always do that. So I need
Yeah.
to do our last 2 hours in the car or whatever to get to the airport. Yeah. And
Hmm.
we have a beer or whatever. We sit and we go. And I think that's the only thing I did. But of course you miss them. Then
Yeah.
I'll get older. And then, like one of my closest friend now is in Denver, Colorado, married,
Okay.
2 kids.
Okay.
We met in Bali. She rescued a puppy and she gave it to me. She said, Kesh, can you please raise this puppy? I was like, another dog? How many dogs? She's my neighbor, by the way. Yeah.
Okay.
I said, how many dogs do you want me to have in this house, man? And she was like, so
How many did you
I'm
have
married, two
at one
kids.
point? Yeah.
The most? Five, six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 or 5, yeah.
Do you
And
still have any of them or no?
yeah, of course, of course.
Okay.
We have a house in Bali and all that. We
Okay.
have a helper, we have all these things out there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's yeah, and she's now in Denver, Colorado with 2 kids, and we're like we still talk like and
Hmm.
she's like, I wish we were back in Bali again. We're both a bit older, yeah, we're both. And I said, yeah. I said, no. I said, you in Bali now would be nuts. You and 2 kids. I said,
Hmm.
what
I
happened?
mean, people do it. You know, I've seen this one guy on Instagram where he has a wife and 2 kids and they travel full time.
Oh yeah, no, that
And
happened. That happened. I'm saying like
yeah.
that's the other thing I expand upon is like the things that we used to do when we were 30 and young and single and
Hmm.
nuts and mental are very
Yeah.
different from the way you're gonna enjoy life when you're 40 or 45 or whatever.
Hmm.
I think
Very
then
different.
yeah, exactly. The energy level is different, the stupidity level is different, like the responsibility has gone up like 200 times, like I don't
Yeah.
think it's something that I can replicate. If you ask me to do the same thing I wanted to do when I was 30, what I'm doing now,
Hmm.
gosh, impossible. Impossible, 100% impossible. I'll be,
Yeah.
I'll be, I need to be chauffeur driven. I need to be, give me a 5-star resort. Give me this. This is what I want.
Hmm.
You ask me
Hmm.
then, fuck, we do anything. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
You
go spend
got
4 in the morning. Like, fuck it, we get drunk. Let's go. I
yeah.
think that has changed a lot.
Hmm.
So I
You're
think
more
you
kind
mature.
of settled down almost,
You
more
get
mature,
older,
like you
you
said.
kind of mature, right?
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
I look at things today and where we started Digital Nomads Bali and going back to everything that we're talking, I think everything that we did or we started, I'd be very proud to say that we kicked off the entire thing. I did
Hmm.
uh, in Bali.
Well, yeah, Digital Nomads Bali. Can you tell us more about that? Like
Yeah, I
what?
want to. I want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we kicked off this entire idea that you're able to work, live, do what you want to do, and
Hmm.
still somehow enjoy Bali
Hmm.
responsibly as well. I think the history, the historical data behind it, I think is pretty obvious. But I think
Hmm.
today I still want Digital Nomads Bali to be a force of change.
Hmm.
I want it to be a place where everyone is able to communicate, to talk, to share, and I
Hmm.
think and to ask for help, references, resources, name it. I
Hmm.
want it to be a place where, as a community, everyone's able to reach out to each other and for any kind of assistance or even for help. I
Hmm.
think moderating this group today, Digital Nomads Bali is taking a life of its own, Josh. Honestly, it has. And I'm very proud of it, to be honest. Really, it has. It's just a maximum amount of, I think we're the largest, digital nomad side of things in Bali. I think we are, by far. And I think that we are also, a lot of parts of it is also the fact that we did it because we wanted to believe in the fact that everyone works together to build something collectively. And I think, of course, there'll be your monkeys around who's going to create a bit of noise around the group. It's going to happen anyway. Moderating has been one of my biggest pain in my, my backside, to be honest. But I
Okay, because
think,
you have the site online too, where people can talk. But
yeah,
then,
the
do you have?
Facebook group is the Facebook group. We have the paid community as well. The paid
Okay,
community is pretty sterile. It's fine. The free one is the one that you have to make sure that, not everyone is fighting with each other. I think that was one of the things that we learned throughout the 10 years that we've done it, how to
hmm
moderate it to a point that it makes sense. And I have a
hmm
best community managers today. They've done a pretty good job making sure that we are not that, ludicrous. And getting numbers into the community was something that was so organic. We never paid for it. We never, just
Oh
was the
well,
most organic things we ever did. I started, remember I told you when we first started with 10
hmm
people, I just let the thing ride. It
yeah.
just came on, right? And
Now,
after,
was it a lot of? Yeah, go ahead.
no, after you.
Was it a lot of word of mouth then in Bali, or did you?
I
How
have
did
no
that?
idea.
You said
Gosh, if you ask me this question, I have no idea how it became from the 10 of us to 500. Honestly, that's the first
okay.
step. Like, what the hell? 500 people here? I'm just trying to
Hmm.
post my next drinking
And it
session.
just happens for you.
1,000, 2,000, three
Yeah.
thousand, And
Hmm.
the next minute, we're 130,000 people.
Hmm.
And so and of course, with everyone that's added in, we had to change certain filters. We had to change the type of people who's joining us. There's a lot of things that are in that group that you got to clean up. And if you see
Hmm.
half of it, you probably puke, Josh. Any one of our members who are watching this today, and
Hmm.
they have no idea how much my community guys have to look through every single day for the amount of rubbish that being posted on the group, you'd be
Hmm.
shocked. Honestly, you'd be shocked.
So, what
Um,
kind of things do you find? You said arguments and
Arguments are fine if they're valid. I
okay.
believe in free speech. Yeah. If it's
Hmm.
arguments, I'm not the overlord of the community. I'm not the big boss. I don't own that shit. It's a
Okay.
community where all of us are together. Yeah, we're all in it together. So I don't normally stop
Yeah.
arguments. I'm talking about stuff that you don't want to see. Trust me, I don't want to put it out there.
Hmm.
In a lot of stuff that I deleted, and I honestly I will. And I've blocked I don't know how many thousands of people up to now. If I've
Yeah.
allowed everybody in that group right now, we'd probably be about 300,000 people right now. Honestly, it will be.
Okay. Well.
I'm very stringent on our laws and our rules and all that.
Yeah.
I think that kind of
S-
kept it pretty, yeah.
Yeah. Tame, maybe.
I wouldn't say tame. I would say keep it respectable.
Okay.
I don't think tame is the word. You can allow to go on. If you want to be upset about something, be upset about it. But I'll
Yeah.
never say no. But I think
Okay.
be rational behind your upset. I mean, if you're upset with
Okay.
something, be rational behind it.
Yeah.
Not if that's okay. If a ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend having an argument on the site, I said, man,
Hmm.
do it on WhatsApp between the both of you. That I'll take down.
Hmm.
That's stupid.
Okay. So we talked about the community, but what do you see? How do you see the future? Like, what does the future look like for this community of yours?
I think the future of this community, I think for Digital Nomads Bali alone, at this point, we're kicking off a thing. I think I shared a thing or two about it, called Nomads for a Cause. I want to make this actually work. That's the future of where I think we should be going. I think the future
Okay.
of where community building should be about giving back. Leave the place better than you walked in. Always.
Yeah. Well, I when I first heard about that, I thought it was cool because a lot of times digital nomads come over to Asia and they just want to enjoy this cheap life
Mm-hmm.
and the weather, but it's cool how you're actually trying to, give back
Yeah.
to where you are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really cool.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that, Josh. But
Yeah.
I also feel like, take a couple of, I'm not asking monetarily or financially. You can
Hmm.
spend time with the local community, teach them maybe digital marketing, or teach them how to do video production, or teach them how to do
Yeah.
whatever they're interested. Like,
Hmm.
this is what I did. So in Bali, I did a thing with Still Child Foundation. I did,
Hmm.
I worked with a charity over there that did orphan kids when I first started out. Often
Hmm.
kids with entrepreneurship programs. I started together with a guy called Tim Cameron. Great man. And after that, there's a lot of things that I worked with as a CSR element or charity element to whatever we did. We weren't a big major organization, trust me. But
Hmm.
whatever time I could, I would do it. Right, the same
Okay.
thing I do back here in Singapore. Right? There's 5 different bodies that I volunteer my time for, and I
Hmm.
think that's been the core of who I am. And I think now that a responsibility of mine is the fact that I think now we have 500,000 people on this platform.
Okay.
We make a difference
Yeah.
where we are. I think that's the thing that I'm trying to answer. And I
Yeah.
think if I can't find an answer for it, and I say, no, well, let's do a nomads for a cause thing, and
Hmm.
Josh, and this is where I think we are going towards. I really
Yeah.
want to go towards that, to be honest.
Well, it's really, really cool. I like that. Like I said, giving back to the community and giving, doing something beneficial for where you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I hope it's not a Mother Teresa thing, to be honest. Yeah, I'm just saying that, you know
Yeah.
what? If we all have a bit of time, help someone else out if you could, smile at someone, shake someone's hand, whatever, right?
Do you see this becoming something that spreads out over all of Asia or the world
I
even?
hope
Or
it's global. I hope
yeah.
it's a movement that we started. This is not new. We started this about a year ago, but we did it through
Okay.
parties. We found a way to get so I had to spend I don't know how many thousands of dollars to throw a party to get people to understand what Nomad for a course was. But I think people are more interested
Hmm.
in free drinks and all that. But I think over time, I think people understand the substantial value of what we are building. I think the substantial value of what we built
Hmm.
collectively could help not just you know um, I'm talking about the undernourished, the people who needed help, the people who don't have hope, people who have
Hmm.
who don't have access to things that you and I would think it's normal, you
Yeah.
know? And that's what I think we're trying to do. And I'm saying it's not financial. If you can spend a
Hmm.
couple of hours, be it educationally, be it through anything. So Nomads
Hmm.
for a Cause is based on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like a nonprofit or
I've not
will it
registered,
be?
to be honest. I've not registered as any kind of organization.
Okay.
This is a subdivision of Digital Nomads Asia as a whole.
Okay.
So don't worry. If you're gonna pledge 20 hours for a cause, you can pledge it to someone. If you're gonna put
Hmm.
money into it, which I really am not a big fan of, but if
Hmm.
you want to pledge hours, time, meeting someone, pledge it. It's all there in our thing. You can just go on a thing. It's not nas.io/Digital Bali. Go on it, pledge yourself, and all you have to people will know. And then if you do, take a picture, post it up there.
Okay. And that'll be in the show notes too. So anyone who wants to check that out,
Anyone,
you can just
yes.
go and check that out in the
Anyone.
show notes. Yeah.
Yeah, anyone the world. You can go in there. And then it's a separate page for we thank our donors anyway, right? And there's a special shout out for everybody.
So, Kesh, I just wanted to say thank you for joining me today. It was a great conversation, I think. And we talked about Digital Nomads Asia, which anyone who wants to learn more can find in the show notes. And we talked about Nomads for a Cause.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just check that out. And yeah, thanks, Rukesh. That was awesome.
Thank you, man, Joshua. Thank you for having me, Joshua.
Yeah, thank
First
you.
ever shoot that you ever did. I'm so proud to be. I mean, thank you so much for letting me on. Honestly, I
Of
appreciate
course.
it so much.
Of course. Yeah.
And I wish you nothing but success for this whole thing.
And you too.
Yeah. All right. So thank you.